It is just a huge, huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Christina Blatchford of Blatchford Solutions. She is a mother and wife first, a dentist second. She loves dentistry but understands the value of quality time spent with her family and friends. She enjoys the aesthetics of dentistry and has learned how to pursue her artistic talents in this field. Her father and my idol, Dr. Bill Blatchford, was a successful dentist, and it seemed the natural progression for her to follow in his footsteps. Originally, Christina pursued a fashion path, which is why I'm wearing a black shirt and a pink bow tie, and received her Bachelor of Arts. After working at Nordstroms for a bit, she realized she needed more. She went back to school and became an interior architect specializing in dental practices. After a bit of time, she realized she wanted the lifestyle she was given growing up and needed to pursue a career in dentistry to allow these opportunities not only for her, but her husband and young daughter. She now works 2 to 3 days a week and takes 8 weeks off every year. There is a specific formula to the lifestyle that Christina and her father would like to share with more dentists. Blatchford Solutions is a practice management company that helps only 50 doctors a year pursue the lifestyle they want to live. Too many dentists run on a rat race of huge overhead, working 4 to 5 days a week, and taking maybe 2 to 3 weeks of vacation a year. How are you doing today, Christina?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on this show. It is just quite an honor, and you are a dental legend, so this is just so much fun.
I'm only a legend in my own mind. No one else's. You're, it's really interesting. 30 years ago, it was indemnity insurance. You submitted your own fees. I do a crown for $1,000, a root canal for $1,000. Submit it to Delta, and they'd pay half of the crown and 80% of the root canal. Now it's gone to all these insurance companies send you the fees. And a lot of dentists say, I don't take PPOs. And it's like, you don't take Delta? They go, oh, I take Delta. It's like, dude, Delta is a PPO. And now, 30 years later, Christina, I get paid $600 for a crown, or $650 for a crown, and $650 for a root canal. I mean, so my fees have gone down 42%. But every time the earth goes around the sun, the staff wants $1 an hour raise. And there's just so many 50, 60-year-old dentists that have seen their staff labor migrate from 30 years ago at 20%. Now it's north of 30%. And when you look at the macroeconomic numbers, it was 2005 that dentists maxed out at $217,000 a year net income for general dentists, and it's gone down $4,000 a year for the last decade. Now they're at $174,000, and there's no change in that direction. So what can you at Blatchford Solutions do for that mess?
You bet. Insurance is a racket, but I think that one of the things that we need to just step back and big picture this is that dentistry is a wonderful profession. It really is. We get to create smiles for patients, create their aesthetics or function that they didn't have before, and we have the power to change lives. So, and we get paid for this. So that's something that I think is really important to step back and big picture this. But yes, insurance is definitely it's a challenge. What we do, and with Blatchford Solutions really encourage our doctors to do, is create value. Create value in your dental practice so that patients actually will move forward. We talk about sales as uncovering patients' wants, because who wants to be a used car salesman and in your dental practice that doesn't work well, and it doesn't feel good to patients. But creating value and uncovering patients' wants and looking at the big picture. People are spending money somewhere. They're spending money on vacations. They're spending money on even like tattoos. I know there's plenty of patients that we have coming into our chairs that will say, gosh, nope, I can't afford that crown. But they have this monster full sleeve tattoo that somehow they afforded. And what we need to do as dentists is think about this. Other people, other professions are obviously much better at sales than we are. If we have patients that are coming in they're fresh from their Hawaiian vacation, but they say we can't afford a crown, we need to do a much better job creating that value in our dental practices.
You know why I never got a tattoo?
I don't know.
Because I've never seen a bumper sticker on a Ferrari. Now, if I ever see that, I'll consider it. But you just said the dirtiest four-letter word in all of dentistry, which is sales. I mean, they
Yes,
don't sell, and they're up front with this. They say, I didn't go to 8 years of college to be a used car salesman. I'm not going to sell. I told you have three
exactly.
cavities. If you're too damn dumb to fix it, the hell with you. And Christina, when we look at case presentation data, I like big data. I mean, America's got 324 million people. There's 211,000 living humans alive with a active license to practice dentistry. And when you look at the hundreds of millions of dollars of insurance claim, a dentist will tell you his root canals never fail. But the insurance will tell you that if a general dentist does a root canal in 60 months, 5 years, 10% are extracted. If an endodontist does it, 5% are extracted. But back to selling, just talking about decay, radiographic on bite wings, interproximal lesions. They only close 38% of them. I'm not talking about bleaching, bonding, veneers, and implants. I'm talking about a freaking MO on number 3. They
You
can
bet.
only convince 1 out of 3 people to get her done. And then you just said sell, and they probably just made the sign of the cross and drank holy water. How do you convince this guy who's up front with you, tells you he hates sales, he doesn't want to be a salesman, but if he doesn't sell dentistry, his patients are not benefiting from walking out the door with cavities? I wouldn't want to send my grandchildren to a dentist that can only convince 1 out of 3 of my grandchildren to get her cavity fixed. I'd want to send her to the dentist that convince all of them the need to get it fixed.
Yeah, I love that question because, that's when you say convince, this is exactly the the way that we do not want to do things. No one wants to be convinced of something. No one, we joke, and this is kind of a politically incorrect, but I think you will think it's funny. But we joke about not saying the N word to patients, and the N word in this case is need. So saying to patients, "You need this." The thing is you haven't done any work on the front end to help the patient discover what do they want with their teeth, with their lives, with their teeth. What do they want their smile to look like? How do they want their teeth to function? How long do they expect to even keep their teeth? These are questions that these doctors and teams are definitely not asking. These are part of our power questions that my dad has put together and really work great with patients. And it is easy to have these conversations, but if you're not taking the time to have the patient really tell you what they truly want, then when you tell them, well, you need this, you need this, you need this, and perhaps I can educate you into submission, which we do by then if we see a patient that seems to be on the fence of whether or not to do these MO fillings or not, we then go ahead and bring up the radiograph and think perhaps if you could know what I know, then you would go ahead and do this. And that is not, it doesn't work. I mean, it works maybe, you said, like a third of the time, but you have not created value. You haven't gotten that patient to buy into what do they truly want with their teeth? What do they want with their smile? Because if they tell you, this is what I want, then okay, great. Well, in order to get to that end result, this is what I see that you might need to move forward on. I mean, that's a much easier conversation than you need this, Howard. Right?
When you analyze a dental office, let's just talk the average practice. One dentist, one hygienist, 2 assistants, 2 receptionists. The average median mode dental office in the United States for general dentists collecting $750, taking home $174. When you see they diagnosing 100 radiographic interproximal lesions and only drill, fill, and bill 38%, how much of that is the dentist problem versus the staff problem? Because if I ask, and I've surveyed a lot of dentists just throw numbers around. Dental Town, when you start any thread, you can start a poll. And then Dental Town, we formally do a poll. So I've been polling dentists since 1998. And a lot of dentists will say these numbers. I'll say, where did you find that? Oh, I just heard it. But when you poll dentists, say, what keeps you up the night at the most? What is it? It's never my root canals fail, my fillings fall out. It's always staff.
You
And
bet.
they just after they're done doing a filling, they always go in their office and shut the door and hope that when they come out, they're all gone. And then if you ask them, well, what's the second most difficult thing in your life? It's the patient. So clearly, dental schools are by accepting you because you got A's in calculus, physics, geometry, and biochemistry. They've collected all of this library nerds. I mean, I remember at Creighton, I didn't have one date in undergrad. I mean, it was just dental school, and every single night I heard this at midnight, ting. The library will be closing in 10 minutes. And then we'd walk back from the library to Swanson Hall, and there'd be all these business majors and pre-law, and they're all drinking and playing pool, and they got girls hanging on them. And I was so crazy that I thought that they should all be kicked out. I mean, they're not even taking school serious. So that's what you got into dental school. A bunch of library freaks who can't, who are basically, and then what do? Their receptionist is the librarian.
That's hilarious.
So you got some guy sitting in the corner of the library who's only attracted to librarians because they don't talk, and now he's got to deal with talking staff, talking patients. How much of that is a component to treatment plan case acceptance? How much you blame on the doc? How much you blame on the staff?
Good. Yeah. So here's the thing is that in dental school, and you are so right about that. I mean, we have to study to get into dental school. It's not easy. And so, yes, I can totally understand what you're saying. We don't have any leadership classes in dental school, though. So you get out into a private practice, and all of a sudden you go from this what you call a library freak to a leader of a team. And you have to be the person who is in charge. You have to be the person who is inspiring these team members to really do their best job, and you have no training in that. And so obviously that's where Blatchford Solutions comes in to really help you develop yourself as a leader so that you really have a team that can function and reflect you in every area of the office. But how much of it can be blamed on the team? I mean, really, the thing that when we want something different, we need to look at what can I do differently to make this change instead of blaming this on, blaming the challenges on other people, because we can't necessarily change other people. Although in a dental practice, you can hire, and we strongly suggest this, hire the best. I mean, don't have two people at the front in a 750.
Yeah, but when you say
practice,
hire the best, you say, well, why did you hire the hygienist Amy and not Sally and Mark? And he'll say, well, Amy won the Hugh Freedy Golden Scaler Award in dental school. She was a 4.0
oh my
and she
gosh.
graduated cum magna. Yeah, you got the worst hygienist in the entire class.
No,
The girl that made straight C's and had a drinking problem, that's probably the one that would have the most personality and talk and build rapport. I mean,
that's exactly, and really, and it's all about that. I mean, who is going to do the best with patients? Who's going to do the best with patients? And, we encourage our doctors to hire the best, hire the people that are going to really do well with patients, and also that are mentally flexible so that when you go through a coaching program, they can actually move and change with you. Don't hire that person who is the Hugh Freedy, the gold standard, although we expect our hygienists to do an amazing
Golden
job.
Scaler Award. Please get the name
Okay.
right. It is the
Get it
most
right. Get it right.
sacred prize in all of dental hygiene. It is the Tonys and the
Exactly.
Grammys and the Oscars all rolled into one.
Yeah. So hygiene is important in a practice, but certainly I expect everyone on the team to be part of the sales process, to be part of uncovering patients' wants. So if I have a hygienist who is not part of that process, who is not asking the questions that I need them to ask before I get into the room, then they're not doing their job, even if they do have the Golden Scaler Award.
The Hugh Freedy Golden Scaler Award.
Golden Scaler Award.
Well, One of the things that, I understand my homies. I'm a dentist. I mean, even when a dentist retires, he's still a damn dentist. I mean,
Yes.
and I understand the love affair and attraction and seduction of learning surgery and placing implants and sinus lifts and bone grafts and all that. But the problem is, they always take their CE budget and time and they go to Pankey and Coyce and Spear and they learn this love of dentistry, but they'll go to
Sure.
Spear and learn how to do full mouth rehabs. And I'll say, buddy, how many full mouth rehabs did you do last year? Oh, I haven't done one. Okay, so then
Right.
you go to Pankey for 6 weeks. I did it. I went through all the continuums, and they're learning all this TMJ and occlusion, and they don't even do the cases. And then I look at everybody my age who's doing $2 to $4 million a year, and those guys, instead of buying CAD cams, they buy consultants. And they'll buy a $150,000 CAD cam, but they won't buy a $50,000 consultant. They'll buy a $150,000 CBCT, but they won't get a $50,000 consultant. And I keep telling them that the number one return on investment is a consultant. And then they say, well, which one would you get? I'll say, well, everybody that's my age doing 2 to 4 million a year, they've had 5 or 6 different ones in the last decade. Their mindset is, if we have a consultant come in for a year and I pay him $1, I know I will get that dollar back by the end of the year plus more. And they say, well, this consultant helped us with insurance and this consultant helped with yours. What is different about your consulting versus
Good.
the others? And why should they buy consulting instead of a laser, which stands for losing all savings equal reality, not light amplification, stimulation, emission, and radiation?
Right. I love that question. Yes. So you mentioned going to continuing education, you take these great courses, and then you have the ability to do full mouth cases, which we strongly encourage for all of our doctors to continue that and really be the best that you can be, going back to creating value in your dental practice and being able to do what a patient wants. I think is definitely so important. But if you can't sell that, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference. I think that in dental school, we're kind of taught that be the best dentist that you can be, and the rest will just fall into place. But that's not the case. I mean, that's why we're in business. Why we have a consulting business is because, yes, you are so right. You can buy the latest and greatest equipment, but if you do not have your practice together, if you're chasing a high overhead, our consulting company is really big on getting your overhead under control, putting your systems together so that when you do have these patients coming in, that you really have things dialed in. You can present, or you can uncover the patients once and then present the dentistry that you've taken the classes or you have the equipment to do. Otherwise, that's just a nice shiny equipment that's good for hanging coats on.
And
That's about
you know
it.
what's weird is only dentists talk about their equipment. You'll never hear a physician or an advertising a physician saying, we just bought a new ultrasound machine, or we just bought a. I mean, physicians never mention equipment. It's only dentists. It's the weirdest, bizarrest thing.
Isn't that so funny? I
So,
love it though.
my
We're
homies right
dental
now,
nerds.
if you're listening to me, shoot me an email, howard@dentaltown.com. Tell me what country you're from, your name, how old you are. When I get these emails, Christina, we need to redirect this conversation because 25% are still in dental school and the rest are all under
Yes.
30. And so I got an email yesterday from a guy, and he said, "I am an old man, not as old as you, but I think he said he was 53." But anyway, so what are they going to find at Blatchford.com? And does Blatchford.com offer, or when you only accept 50 new clients a year, do you ever help these kids come out of school? And I
You bet.
also,
We absolutely. Yeah. Go
before I
ahead.
forget, I want to ask you a very personal question.
Okay.
I get a lot of emails, and there's a lot of posts on Dental Town. Girls like you
Hmm.
graduate, go work for their dad, and they love their dad, but he just makes her want to pull all of her hair out and jump off a cliff. And the dad's maybe doing Sargenti root canals, which are illegal, or he doesn't want to upgrade a pano to a CBCT, or all these things like that. What would you tell, and I get this email a lot, what would you tell a 25-year-old girl working for her dad who she idolizes, or maybe your mom? I don't even know why I said dad. Working
Sure,
for a
sure.
parent,
Yes.
and they love each other. They want to spend the day with each other. They want to work together, but it's really, really stressful.
What tell me about the stress? The stress is because they have different practicing styles
Because
and different visions for their
they're doing
practice.
Fred Flintstone dentistry and don't
Mhm.
even know what Instagram means, and they're trying to take basically this is what it is. They're trying to take the office into a new direction, and mom and dad are kind of winding down and just milking the cow, and they want to feed the cow and make the cow better and healthier, and maybe they have the cow make a few babies. So they're just going in a different direction, and she knows her parent isn't going to retire for a decade. And oftentimes they post
Yeah.
on Dental Town, should I wait a decade or should I just jump out on my own?
Yeah, you know what? I This is a really good question, and um, going back to when we see this goes not just with parents and children, but everyone here is, first of all, is this a single doctor practice that we overnight decided to make it into a two doctor practice? So that's the question. It is can this practice actually even support two people? Is really one thing to look at, because oftentimes we see this where we have a doctor who thinks, what I'd like to do is I'd like to do the bigger cases, and I'm going to sell half of my practice I'm going to get an associate, I'm going to sell him or her half of my practice. But the problem with that is overnight we've taken a single doctor practice and we've made it into a two doctor practice. So what that the selling doctor, or in this, so it could be that the parent doesn't think about, is how is that going to financially affect me and the associate when we cut that salary in half? So that's one thing to think about, because that can definitely be very stressful in a relationship with a parent and a child. I mean, do we have is there a financial stress in the practice? Um, but you and if you have a partner in your practice, you have to have the same vision. If you have two different visions for your practice, what two different goals of what this practice is going to be, there is just going to be that friction. It can be tough. And that is one of the reasons why partnerships are very difficult. We have a few partnerships over the years that we've worked with, but oftentimes, you two different people, you have two different visions. What would I tell that person that's just thinking about potentially going into practice with their father and not super sure if that's going to work out? Number one, numbers. Is this practice a one doctor practice or a two doctor practice? Number two, if you have a different vision, go out and find your own practice. You will be a lot happier, and your relationship with your family will be that much better. So I think that's what I would say. Another thing about that is we do see a lot of women graduating from school and thinking, gosh, how can I possibly go into private practice when I want to have a family and I'm not sure how this is all going to work? Should I just go into corporate dentistry? And the answer is no. Do not go into corporate dentistry, or do it for a year so that you build up your speed and feel good about that. But private practice is so much easier, and I can speak personally about this because I did buy a practice right out of school, and no, it wasn't my dad's practice. He's not been a wet fingered dentist for about 35 years. So I did buy a practice right out of school, and my husband and I had a daughter at just 2 years in, and it was very easy. I mean, I was able to set my own hours, which is one thing, and financially able to really make this work. And so with Blatchford Solutions, we really that's something that we feel very strongly about, is that private practice, practicing dentistry in a private practice is the best way to really enjoy this profession.
Well, the bottom line is the ultimate soccer mom dentist doesn't have a boss. The ultimate soccer
Right.
mom is
Thank you.
when the school calls and says your daughter's really sick, and she tells her receptionist cancel the rest of the day. You can't do that when you're working for a DSO.
No.
And
Nope.
I see the ultimate soccer moms own their own practice, and
Yes, absolutely.
you can't be the ultimate anybody working for a boss telling you that you have to put your job till 5 o'clock and your kids come
No.
at 5:30 after you get home. I ran out of my dental office one time because Eric fell off the cabinet and they were rushing him to the emergency room. I just left. I didn't even tell anybody. My
Yeah.
assistant heard the message, and I didn't even have to worry about what happened because I knew my team could take care of it. I mean, what are you going to do when you come into the dental office?
Absolutely.
Said the doc had to go to the emergency room because his kid fell down. What are you going to say? Well, I'm upset. I'm a narcissist. It's all about me.
Right.
Now, can I ask you a really personal question?
You bet.
What does your husband do?
So he was an architect for 20 years.
Okay,
Now we have started
okay,
a
stop right
oh,
there. Now,
yeah.
now you started what? Go ahead and finish.
Now we've started a transitions business, Blatchford Transitions, that he is part of. So a dental practice brokerage
Well,
that goes hand in hand with Blatchford
well,
Solutions.
you should have him come on the show and talk about all that.
Well, let's do
But the
it.
point I'm going to make is this: the male dentist, they want to be the 400-pound gorilla, so they always walk out of school and marry, the waitress from the Waffle House,
Okay.
and then she only trades her beautiful looks because now she gets to live like a rock star because she married a rich dentist, physician, lawyer. Those guys seem
Yes.
stressed out of their mind. Whereas the women dentists, 30% of them married a male dentist in the class. The other 30, the
Yeah.
other 70%, like you, married architects, bankers, physicians, engineers. The women dentists always have a spouse who has full employment and makes bank, and the dentist
Right.
always has a dependent she hears things like, well, how much you charge for a crown? 1,000. And then he'll come home and she'll say, how many crowns did you do today? And she'll 5. So she's thinking, damn, he made 5,000. She doesn't understand the PPO
Right.
adjustment that he only got 600 for those. She doesn't understand Doc's got 65% overhead and is in a
Right.
38.5% tax bracket. And the
Yes.
dentists don't, they say marriage fails a third on sex, a third on substance abuse, and a third on
Finances.
yeah, money, sex, and finances. And as far as money and
Hmm.
sex, especially if you're trading money for sex, that's a double win. But money, sex, and
Oh, man.
substance abuse. And even with those three things, it still comes down to communication. They're not communicating
Right.
about money. They're not communicating about sex. They're not communicating about, when we got married, you came home and drank 2 beers every night. Now you're up to 6. And the weekends were a 12 pack a decade ago. Now it's a case. They just don't talk. And so these dentists are very, very stressed. What would you say? Talk about both sides of that fence there. Because I look at the women, and the women, they tell me, well, if you're a woman dentist and you married a male dentist or architect or whatever, in America, you're still a woman. So when you come home, he's still going to sit there on TV and watch ESPN. I'm the one cooking and cleaning and doing the homework, and I'm doing all this stuff, and she resents that. So talk about both sides. What do you think about the man who married the waitress from the Waffle House, who doesn't go over the finances and the numbers, and the billing, and get her involved so she can see how much blood, sweat, and tears goes in to her spending just one Benjamin?
Yeah, you have to. Communication is so key. And I wouldn't say that I am any type of marriage expert, um, but, I think that communication about these different things are so key so that when the Waffle House spouse situation, when that occurs, so that the wife does really understand, okay, these are the numbers, this is what we have as our monthly budget, and you just really we really need to communicate so that everyone is understanding what each other is working through. Now, on the other hand, on the other side of that you were talking about, you're still the woman, still doing a lot of the different things at home with the children and things like that. You are absolutely right. And what we suggest, and we have our doctors do, male or female, is we have them fill out what we call our task analysis sheets, not only at the office, so we figure out, what we truly are doing besides dentistry in our office, because in our office, we are the highest production person, the person with the highest production potential. So if we're spending a lot of time and energy doing things besides dentistry that somebody else on the team could do, we're not going as far as we possibly could. That's one thing. Now, doing that task analysis at home. And the questions with this task analysis is, first of all, what is the task? Why do I do it? How much time do I spend on it? Who else could be trained to do it? Now, that's a slippery slope when you talk about training your husband. I don't pretend that I'm able to do that necessarily. But and could I potentially farm this out to somebody else that I pay? So, like, for example, when I am practicing, we actually have like a food delivery service. So the meals are already done, that type of thing. Or we have somebody come in and do the laundry. I mean, you don't have to do every single thing in your house or your office, even though you think you can do it better than anyone else. But delegation is really so very important for being able to have a balanced life and do all the things that you do.
I have all my meals delivered too, from Domino's. I even have the app. It's pretty slick.
Okay.
Um, So I
Yeah.
know my homies, and they're always saying, and they're listening to you right now, and they're saying, yeah, but you don't understand. I'm in Parsons, Kansas, and they always have this unique scenario. And what I love about you,
Sure.
if you go to Blatchford.com, it says schedule your complimentary 15-minute call now. You click
Yeah.
that, and then you have time. So you look at the date and you pick the date, and then it shows what increments you have. I think that's very cool, and that's all free.
Very cool.
So,
Yep, it's
so,
all free.
so you know what? I mean, your mom and dad read Dear Abby every day in the newspaper. That's my favorite part of the newspaper, Dear Abby, because
Yep.
I just love that. And so what do you have to lose? Right now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, should I get the lamp laser for 85? Should I get a CAD cam for 145? Should I go to the Dominican Republic and drop a gazillion dollar? Look at implants. When they decide they want to do implants, they'll upgrade their Pano to a CBCT for 100
You
grand.
bet.
They'll go
Which
take
they need to.
they'll go take $50,000 in implant surgical training courses. They'll buy some system, and by the time they place that first implant for $1,000, they've already dug themselves into a hole of 200,000 or more. And then you look, how long does it take them to get that money back? Because that $200,000 wasn't their rent, mortgage, equipment, bill out, computer, insurance, malpractice. It was the 35% profit margin. I mean, a lot of these guys, they decide they're going to get in implants. It doesn't help their bottom line for 5 years. And I'll tell you another thing about all these specialty things you learn. I got an MBA from ASU, and if you don't do a procedure every week, you're never in the profit zone. If you learn how to place implants, you better do 50 a year. If you're going to get in sleep apnea, better do 50 a year. If you're not doing that procedure once a week, you never get fast enough, good enough, profitable enough. You're never in the profit zone, and it just turns out to be a big loss. And then I'm thinking, if you're in Phoenix, why didn't you just go get a periodontist from Tucson to drive out one Friday a month to place all your implants at 1,000 and split it with them 50-50? Now you didn't dig anything in the debt. And furthermore, if you need an implant, who would you rather have place it? Some periodontist that sunk 2,500 implants, or you that just got back from Mexico on a 3-day weekend course? And also you said you weren't a marriage expert, and I just want to say in dentistry, you are never a marriage expert till you've been married at least 5 times. And so,
Oh,
so,
that's awesome.
so when you get to work, schedule 15 minutes for free. Call Dear Abby, a.k.a. Christina Blatchford. And by the way, this is not a commercial. I begged her to come on the show for almost 2 years. And no money changes hands. But tell me what these 15-minute phone calls, tell me what the average phone call like. I mean, are they calling you crying about their overhead? Or are they crying about their
Yeah.
hygienist? Or
Absolutely. I mean, they got to a point where they're finding, you know what? I spent so much time becoming a dentist And I expected to have this great lifestyle and really have this wonderful profession that I felt like my patients love what I do. It's financially rewarding. I have a balance in my life. I get to take vacations. They're finding they don't have that. They don't have that. They don't have what they wanted when they originally decided to become a dentist. They're frustrated usually. And so we are with these phone calls, we're finding out what they would like, what they would like. And that's really that is our program. Is it's custom. We look at any practice and what do you really want in your life and what do you want your practice to be like, and then we give it to them. So that's what we do. And most of the time that means that the dentist then is much more profitable, because that's always something that we get, that people want. They want to really have the finances to be able to make different choices in their lives, number one. And number two is time to spend with family, time to spend with friends, time to enjoy their lives. And so, you can take whatever continuing ed course you want, but if you don't have your practice together, if you don't have your overhead under control, if you and your team are not able to present dentistry, case presentation is not strong in your practice, and you have very low case acceptance, it doesn't work. So that's where we come in and really make this whole thing work and help the dentist rediscover why they decided to go into dentistry in the first place.
Your dad is a phenomenal athlete, and he's been an inspiration of mine to where every year on his birthday he does his age in push-ups.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how old is your dad now?
He's 74.
I'm 55, and whenever I have a birthday, people say, "How old are you?" I always add 10 years. I always say 65, because if I say 65, they go, "Damn, you look good." If I say
Right.
55, they say, "Dude, what went wrong?" And
Right.
but the best analogy for your father to me is when you're talking about hours and taking time off. That if you set out on a 100 meter, you run as fast as you can. If you set out on a 5K, it's just a steady pace. But man, when
Right.
you set out on a marathon, you set out on a slow jog. And
Right.
I have noticed so many times that the dentists who work 5.5 days a week, they're like, it's a marathon. They just go slow, 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 slow. But the ones who say, no, dude, I'm taking 3-day weekends, or the
You
best,
bet.
work 2 days, take off Wednesday, then work two
Perfect.
days and take off the weekend. They're going in
One
there.
day.
They're going in there
Yeah.
for the 100 meter, and their hours are never 10-hour days, 8-hour days. In fact, I would say this is the bizarrest thing in dentistry. The dentists I know that go in and work Monday through Thursday, like 6 to 2, they just crush it because they know you can run full speed if you know it's just 100 meter. But when you're doing it
Exactly.
6 days a week, you look like a snail on morphine.
That's really, it's important to be able to really make that distinction. And one of the things that we as dentists get confused about is capacity and demand, thinking that, okay, perhaps I will open one extra day and therefore more patients will come to me because of that. That is confusing. You don't have the demand there, but you have the capacity. You're moving your week out a little bit more. So yes, let's tighten up that schedule. That is definitely what we really work on with Blatchford Solutions. Is let's do those sprints so that then we can have that time to rest and be prepped for the next sprint, instead of just, oh, here we are again, and doesn't work.
Yeah. You guys always talk about the 4 rules of success. What are the four
Yes.
rules of success?
All right. Well, first of all, what we suggest is, number one, you need to define success for you. So, and that is something that I think is really important, because if you are measuring yourself by somebody else's yardstick, you're always going to come up short. You're never going to be happy with what you have, because you're comparing yourself to somebody else. So you've got to figure out what to you really defines success. What does that mean to you personally, and really stick with that. Um, And so that is really important. And then we suggest staying married to your first spouse. So that's and I don't pretend that's easy, but I mean you know the thing is that every time you you change spouses, there's usually a division of assets, and that you know we as dental nerds took plenty of math to get into dental school. We can figure out, okay, you divide it by half, and then you divide it by half again and again. It just you're really that can become financially draining. However, every individual situation is different, but that would be a goal. That would be the second goal.
My,
A
my divorce,
third,
my divorce only cost 3.8 million, and I graduated $87,000 in student loans, and I thought that was a
oh
lot
my
of
God.
money. My divorce was 43 times more expensive than my student loans. If you take 3.8 million and divide it by 87,000, the number's 43. But I never think about it. Continue.
Exactly. I mean, every situation it's an individual situation, and so that's a goal. But yeah, number three, live within your means. Live within your means. So just because you think, you know what, I'm a dentist, I should have the latest Jaguar car or whatever. I mean, let's be reasonable here. Do you make enough money to support that? Let's make good financial choices. So live within your means. Now, certainly, I think as we touched on before, we want our dentists to be very profitable. So that yes, if you wanted to have that latest and greatest car, go ahead. But if you can't afford it, if you're not profitable enough to afford it, don't buy it and live in debt and live a life that is kind of it can be a little bit of a lie, and stress you out. That really doesn't work. The last
Wait, before you
of
go to
the
last, I got a
oh
comment on number three.
yeah,
Every time I see a dentist living in their means, they're
yes,
married to another dentist. And every time I see a dentist that married the young, I mean, what you got to ask this dentist. So why would a library geek like you have that hot babe from the Waffle House? Because she traded her beauty for that lifestyle. So he's got to get the big mansion and the Jaguar and the vacations. But again, I tell when I go into dental schools, I tell those boys, I say, the smartest that they say, well, do you think I should go into specialize into ortho or endo? I say no. I think you should marry one of the girls in your class. Why would you want to go to grad school when you can marry
oh
some
man,
woman who's going to make $10,000 a month? And if you don't marry her now, you're going to marry someone who destroys 10,000 a month. That's $120,000 a year, and $120,000 a year from age 25 to 65 for your little blonde trophy wife who looks hot for about 3 years. Is $5 million. It's a
oh,
$5 million negative to marry the hot young little trophy wife who's never going to work and destroy and buy Jaguars and vacation Hawaii versus plus 5 million marrying that geek chick sitting next to you who hasn't said a word in 4 years. I mean
right,
that's a difference of $10 million.
yeah, yeah. So make good life choices.
So
I
you
think.
should. So Blatchford should make 5 rules, and the fifth
Yeah,
one should be marry one of the chicks in your class.
that's awesome. Well, we do have a lot of clients who did that. That's
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Those are the
that's good.
smart ones.
Yeah. The last one is pay off your debt first. So before you start investing, go ahead and get rid of your debt. Get there's plenty of apps that you can use that organize the different loans that you have so that you know what the different percentages are and if you paid a little bit extra on each loan, when you might be able to pay them off. But really, go ahead and do that before you invest, because paying off debt is something that we think of interest as optional. You don't have to pay all that interest. If you go ahead and really focus and get organized on the different loans that you have and make some good mindful choices on that, you really don't have to pay as much interest as you have the option to do.
Okay, those were the 4 rules of success
Plus the
defined by
marry
Blatchford.
one of your classmates in dental school.
And
Yes.
I fortified that to 5 rules. But I want to go
Oh, I
back
love
to
it.
I want to hold your feet to the fire because
Yeah.
I know how dentists think. They're listening to you right now. The reason we did an hour is because that's their average commute. And it doesn't really matter if it's urban or rural, which is kind of really surprising to me. Even if you
Yeah.
practice in a town of 5,000, you might live an hour away in a town that's 15,000. And and this podcast went viral. They asked for it was the year before the election. They said, Howard, I can't drive an hour to work and listen to Bill and Hillary and Putin and Trump and emails and
Yeah.
ISIS. And they told me they were listening to podcasts on quilting and cooking and raising children and all this stuff. So I know that they're always alone. So and if they're not the 85% driving to work, they're on the stairmaster or treadmill for an hour or whatever. And they always think they're this unique snowflake with this totally
Yes.
different decision. And
Yes.
so you told me your 4 rules. I want you to give me the top 4 subject categories on the free 15-minute phone call to you. Why are they? Because this girl wants to know: is she the only one thinking this, or others thinking this? But go over the top 4 reasons people are calling you.
You bet. I think that what you touched on is very good about every doctor thinks that their practice, that they and their practice are very unique. And you know what, they are. But here's the thing is that we have worked with over 3,500 very unique and individual snowflakes across the country. So the concepts that we bring to practices really can work in any situation, whether a doctor is practicing in a small town, in a large town, they have a big practice or they have a smaller practice, although we typically don't work with practices that are producing less than 600,000 just because, we need to be able to have a benchmark to work with. But, that it really doesn't matter what type of dentistry that they're doing, whether they're doing kind of bread and butter type of dentistry or they're doing big aesthetic cases. All of our concepts really work well. So, first of all, it's money. It's money. Is the number one thing. I thought that I went into dentistry because I wanted this lifestyle or I wanted to be able to make some choices that I financially am not able to make. So number one is money. It really is. Um, Number two is going to always be time that they just feel like they are on a hamster wheel. They're in their practice 4 days a week, but certainly on that 5th day they're in their practice working on this or that, doing administration, and sometimes they go in on the weekends and they're treatment planning cases and things. And so time, they don't have the time that they thought that they were going to have. So money, time, and then team. They thought that they were going to be a great leader, and they're super frustrated with the team that they have. And why isn't this person performing to the level that I wanted? And this just really isn't working well for me. And of course, the fourth thing that it really ties in with the number one, but I think that it really is a blanket for the whole thing, is overhead. My overhead is just out of control, and I have no idea how to get it back under control.
Wow, that's more than a mouthful. Yeah. I mean, when I got out of school in 1987, 30 years ago, at the age of 4, I'd say average overhead was 50%. Now, according to the
Right.
ADA, it's 65%. It's 2/3.
Yes,
And what the dentist
absolutely.
and you know what I love most? Oh, by the way, on your consulting, you said you were with 3,500 dentists.
Yes.
Does that include Canadians? Do you help them?
A? Yes, it does. A.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you find the Canadians to
Yeah.
be 10 times more polite and sweet and understanding than Americans?
I don't know how it is possible, but they certainly are a great group of people.
No, they're
And yes, that's how my dad did get his start in doing what we do. Is he started out in Canada, so we have a strong background in Canada, and we enjoy our Canadian clients too.
they are they. I mean, they say the cream floats to the top. That's why they're north of us. It is just a better society. I mean, they
Yeah.
in economics they have a higher percentage of foreign-born citizens. They have a higher median income. They have socialized medicine. You know, I mean, they're just to carry the poor. They're great. But I wouldn't ask that. And when you talk about overhead, what do you think is the root cause of going from a country where everyone was 50% overhead to 65% overhead? What do you think was that 15% difference in the last 3 decades?
I think that as costs of just the general cost of living increase, that can be part of it. But I also think that we see kind of a myth in offices where we think that if we hire an additional team member to do something in the office, that's really going to make a big difference. So that's we see doctors that have too many team members that are not great team members, that are just they're not playing as we have our book, Playing Your A Game. I mean, they're not playing their A game. And whether or not that's a capacity issue, whether or not they can bring an A game, that's something for us to take a look at. But it's oftentimes we really need to look at the leader, and is the leader able to really help these team members rise to the occasion, to have them play their A game, so that we actually can have our team at 20%. And I know that seems like, oh my gosh, 20%, that's crazy. But here's the thing, is that we also, and we encourage our doctors to really pay these great team members well, and we have them on a bonus system. So that is really key to making this whole thing work. Your team, when our program works really well, we have team members who think like owners, and they're actually even pushing the doctor, encouraging in a very positive way to get that doctor to do more of the dentistry that they've taken the education to do. So that is really something that I think is so critical in making a practice work well.
So this is Dentistry Uncensored. So get to the nitty gritty. What does your program cost? Is it all online in Skype and phone call? Do you make a site visit? Tell us the nuts and bolts of your program.
You bet. It's $65,000, and it is 14 months. And so we have 2 seminars that are with our team. We added another seminar that we do, and those are 2-day seminars. So you bring your team to 2 seminars where we really talk about the different concepts that are going to make your practice work well. And so your team gets to hear these firsthand, and we then have a consultant come into your office for 2 days to see how you've done in putting some of the different concepts in place and where we might need to work on things. One of the main things that I think is really different from other consulting companies for how we differ is that we are dentists coaching dentists. So I'm a practicing dentist. My dad is another one of our coaches, and then we have 2 other dentist coaches that we then talk with our clients one-on-one, an hour plus each month. So we have doctor calls each month. We have group doctor calls, and so we actually then added another doctor-only seminar, a 1-day doctor-only seminar. And so what we do in these 14 months is take you, and I should also say we start the 14 months with a either web or in-person, what we call our summit, which is 4 to 6 hours with you and your spouse or significant other. And we talk about, what you would really like to get out of this program. Where do you see yourself going in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, so that we really can define what this program wants to look like for each individual doctor. So it is, but inevitably, increasing profits and increasing the amount of time that the doctors can spend outside of the practice seem to be the big things that we run across. So that is it in a very small nutshell, but we feel so very blessed to be able to really coach these doctors to achieve the life that they want, that they really see for themselves. I mean, there is nothing better in my professional life than to see our doctors reach their goals.
Did you see that last month Chinese robot placed the first dental implant? And
Wow.
so, people are asking me, should they buy a CBCT or a CAD cam or laser? I'm going to replace all my staff with droids. And in fact, I'm not going to get married. In fact, what I want to do is I'm not going to get married again until they come out with a robot that can be your wife and place implants. She'll be a
Oh man.
multi-purpose droid, and I'm waiting for that.
Oh
I wonder
man.
how
Oh,
much
I
that'll
love
cost.
it.
So on that 65,000, that's $4,600 a month for 14 months. Is that? Do they
Yeah.
pay 4,600 a month? Do they have to pay the whole 65 up front? How's that work?
Well, so there are definitely different options. Some doctors go ahead and do the whole thing up front. We work with a company called Foundation to help doctors do the financing for that. We also do some different payment options that divides the payments. So we want to see once we decide to work with a doctor, we want to see them successful. I mean, our reputation depends on it. So, we want to make it financially feasible for them to do this program. Typically, when we work with doctors, they increase their net 150,000 in the program.
I know.
Their
I've been
first
telling
50
them that
months.
for 30 years. And then
Yeah,
and then you tell them that the number one return in investment is always a dental consultant. You'll always get all of your money back plus more in the first year. And then they say,
absolutely.
"Okay, thanks for that advice. I'm going to go take a bone grafting course in Syria." You know.
Right, right. Yeah.
So do the other two dentists, are those the ones who do the majority of the on-site calls as opposed to you and your dad?
Good. So, good question. So, we actually have three consultants that go, and these are we have Carrie Warren, Nancy Granahan, and Kay Pachetti. They've all been with us for 15 plus years, and they go into the offices and do
And those
the
three are dentists
consults.
too?
They are not dentists. They have been in the office in some capacity, either an office manager or as a dental
Oh, you know what
assistant.
we should do for a follow up to you? On
Yes,
this Skype thing, we can do the Brady Bunch. So you could have all three of those girls come on,
yes.
and then they'll be watching this podcast with four people, me, and then these three people, Carrie, and the other two you said, and
Let's
that
do
might
it.
be a hell of a deal because
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to be a leader. I really do want to be a leader, and I don't have to beg them to go learn how to do crown and bridge and composites and bleaching. That they're naturally driven. I mean, I'd rather pull four impacted wisdom teeth than play golf, go to a Christmas party. I mean, or see the latest Star Wars movie. I mean, I get it. I mean, I think the ultimate high is getting out four impacted wisdom teeth in under 4 minutes.
Yep. Pretty
I
fun.
don't even want to do a root canal number 8. I think dental assistants should do all single canal root canals. I only want to do a molar. In fact, I don't even want to do a virgin molar. I want to do a retreat. I want to dig out a broken post. I mean, I love the challenge of dentistry. I do.
You go, Howard.
But,
That's
but they have no natural inclination to figure out a statement of cash flow, a balance sheet, a profit and loss. They have no idea what their return on equity, return asset
no.
was. They have no idea. And whenever they tell you their numbers, when you go dig into them, I've never met one that was right. They'll say, "Oh,
Right.
my labor is 25%." Really, 25%? Does that include FICA matching, payroll, uniforms? Oh, I don't know. And then you go dig in the number and say, "Well, the number was actually 33%." You go look at their supply bills. Last month it was 4%. Next month it's 7%. The other month it's 2%. It's like
Yeah.
you accept 100% variance in your gosh darn supply bill because again, the dental assistant she's an artist. She cosmetologist, mani pedi. She loves to work with her hands. She loves to make temporary. She loves that, but she doesn't even know how to balance her bank statement.
Yeah.
So you have
You gotta know your
you
numbers.
got this whole collection of people who love their craft and they hate math and they hate numbers and that's why they have an incline. I don't have to nudge someone to go get their FAGD and learn all about clinical dentistry. That's a
Of course.
given. But you got to beat
Right.
them with a stick just because to sit there because they'll say 65,000. That's so much money. Then they'll go buy a $145,000 CAD cam.
Yep.
65,000. That's a lot of money. Then they go buy a $135,000 Lenap laser.
Yep.
65,000. That's so much money. I mean, it's just like dude, if you buy a Lenap, you buy a CAD cam, there is a 0% chance you would earn all that money back plus more in the first year. And you say
Agreed. I
your
mean, yeah,
clients at
absolutely.
65,000 all bring back home 150,000 in the first year,
Yes.
which I mean, it's just I mean, this is what I have been begging these guys to do for forever. But do you want to follow up you with those three girls that have been in the
Let's
field
do
for
it.
15
Let's
years?
do it. I love it. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. And
Let's do it.
my job will be to embarrass them so bad they will regret the day they were born after coming onto my show. That'll be
Oh
my
man.
goal.
Well, we never know what you're going to say, Howard, but this has been very enjoyable. You are hilarious. And I want to wish you very good luck in finding that implant placing droid. Um,
And
as
she'll
your
be from
next.
China. That'll even be that. How cool is that? I'll have a Chinese wife
Oh man.
droid somewhere between CP30 and what was the other one? R2D2.
Yes.
Slightly
Awesome.
taller than R2D2 and slightly less gay than CP30.
Oh man.
And
Oh man.
but anyway, so final question. Now we went into overtime. We're 5 minutes
Yeah.
over. They're sitting in the parking lot saying, "I wish those two would stop talking so I can turn off my car and go in." Final question. This is what I hear all the time.
Yeah.
They say, Christina, you know the difference between you and her? You graduated in the golden years, and I'm 25 years old. I'm $250,000 in debt, and now I'm starting to think I made a really bad decision being a
Yeah.
dentist. What would you say to that
Uh-huh.
little girl?
I'd say you made a great choice. The we know right now in the US we have medicine as we don't really it's kind of an unknown, and so we see more and more people going into dentistry because we know it's still the private practice is still possible. So you made a great choice, and yes, you have $250,000 worth of debt. But you can definitely get through that. And I would suggest reaching out to us. We also can help you look for a practice through our Blatchford Transitions program. So um, we really feel so very strongly that dentistry is a fantastic profession. She made the right choice, and let's make it work really well for her.
And I want to get your husband on the transitions. And the reason I'm so
Okay, very good. Let's do
trying
it.
so hard to help you, because not only do I know that consulting is a better return on investment than anything you could buy in equipment, but your dad, it was 1987. I packed up my whole staff. He was in Tucson. We drove 90 miles south. We listened to him. It's like hit me over the head with a baseball bat. Very defining moment. I got to listen to my dental assistant for 30 years, Jan, say, "Well, that's not what Dr. Blatchford said. Dr. Blatchford said this. Dr. Blatchford said this." So after 10 years, I was like, "Well, the hell with Dr. Blatchford. And no, I'm just kidding. And then I was so lucky because after the seminar, I said, "Hey guys, I got to go. I got to go get a taxi. My flight's taken out of Phoenix." And I jumped out of my chair. "I'm driving back to Phoenix. I'll drive you straight to the airport."
Oh,
So then I got a
wonderful.
90-minute one-on-one driving 5 miles beneath the speed limit. I drove there as slow as I could, and he's just a hell of a guy. I can't even count how many times I heard him lecture over the last 30 years, but he's the
Yeah.
real deal. And he's got an unbelievable family. He's all into health. He's a personal role model of mine in so many different ways. So I want to do anything I can to help your family and your company. So let's get
Thank you so
your husband
much.
on talking about transitions, and tell your husband this
Perfect.
is what I already know they're all going to say. Because again, when you come on my show, you're talking to people in dental kindergarten. You're not talking to a bunch of 50-year. They're a quarter in school and everyone else under 30. So their questions are, well, I'm working at Heartland or Pacific
Sure.
because no one's going to qualify me for a loan. I mean, hell, I've got $250,000 in student loans. And then they want to know, should they do a de novo or should they buy one from scratch? That's a big $1 million question. And they want to
No.
know, should I go into urban or rural? And by the way, I want to end on this because I know we're in double overtime. Um, I've been posting these on Dental Town, and it's just not Perfect Dental Town. I also post on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, but Kansas had a big article the other day. They have 6 counties that don't even have a single dentist. I
Isn't
can
that
give I
wild?
can give you names. There's a dentist buddy of mine that listened to me on this show, and he went and found a county in Iowa that did not have a dentist, opened up a dental practice. He has no openings for 3 months, doesn't take Medicare, Medicaid, nothing at all.
Crazy. Yeah.
And these dentists, what they do is they go work in the middle of nowhere, Monday through Thursday, 4 10-hour days. Then they're taking home 350 a year. Then after work on Thursday, they get in their black paid for cash Porsche and drive 2 hours into Kansas City or LA or wherever they are.
Right.
I mean, there's so many counties without a dentist, and these millennials I
Yes.
don't get because their mom and dad came from the other side of the earth. They came all the way from India and Pakistan to give their children a better life, and then the millennial can't even go 2 hours out of town.
No.
Her mom came 8,000 miles, and she can't go 120 miles out of Kansas City. And I so those are the talking points for your husband, and
Very good.
the talking points for the staff is this individual solo dentist always thinks their situation is unique. What are they
Yeah.
seeing in the field?
Perfect.
Their unique world that they think is only them. If we're transparent with the cases they've been seeing the last 15 years, what's doable, what's fixable, and they also
Perfect.
they have very stressful questions like, well, I know my overhead's too high. I know you're going to come in and fire all my legacy staff that are all making way too much money and replace them with clerks from Walmart. And so, hey, other than that, thank you so much. The only reason the show is a success is because I am able to get people, amazing people like you, to come on the show. Thank you so much for
Thank you
giving up an
so
hour
much,
of your
Howard.
life today to come talk to my homies on Dentistry Uncensored. Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it. Thank
And
you.
thank you, Ryan.